Cam is going to ask you to accept the recording. So good evening, everyone. I really appreciate for all of you joining me today with Cam. It's going to be really fun conversation with him. I'm going to go over his bio for anyone that missed on it. Cam, he is a doctor of physical therapy and a certified strength and conditioning coach. He received his bachelor's degree in kinesiology and DPT from Chapman University. In addition to being an NSCI CSCS, he is a clinical athlete certified powerlifting coach. Cameron has focused his experience on the utilization of strength training for the rehabilitative journey and getting as strong as possible in the process with hard work. Hard work brings great results mentality. Cameron has hundreds of hours of personal training and strength conditioning, strength coaching, and a large breadth of clientele, and has additionally had the pleasure of working in the rehabilitation realm with powerlifters, weightlifters, runners, and athletes of all sports, from extreme sports to D1 athletes to weekend warriors. In his free time, he plays the drums, lives at home, and spends time outdoors and hangs out with his cat, Beatty. So let's open up our ears and welcome Cam. At the end of his presentation, I'm going to give you all 10 minutes to ask questions, and I also have a couple questions for him. So the room is yours.
Right. It's kind of weird talking to you guys without actually seeing anybody, but we're just going to go for it. So, yeah, my name's Cameron. I was super stoked to get the offer to talk to you guys about the stuff. I know when I was kind of going through PT school or before PT school, it was always kind of nice to have a chance to talk to somebody and get some insight into, what was coming. Because I know, in your undergrad, everything is intense and there's your classes. It's easy to get lost in those, especially if, you have your sights set on PT school, knowing that, that's quite the adventure coming. So super stoked to be able to kind of talk to you guys about it. I guess just to go into myself a little bit and kind of my background, I guess. I actually didn't start going to any kind of like schooling, undergrad or anything right away. My initial intention was to go to school to be a drummer. So I had my sights set on that and kind of perused that for a little while, and ended up working. I worked for like 6 years after high school, so I didn't even go right to college for a while. It wasn't until like 2012 that I was able to move out into like Orange County and start going to school, and just kind of heads down did all that undergrad stuff. Started in community college, went through all that stuff, and kind of got messed around a little bit in undergrad. I had a counselor, as some of you guys might know, that didn't really care too much and was just pushing me into some random classes, pushed me into these ones for some reason, thinking that I would benefit from an AA from a community college, when all I wanted was just give me enough to get into undergrad so I can go to PT school. So that kind of extended my little undergrad college career quite a bit. So yeah, got into Chapman, finished out my classes I needed there, and then luckily got to stay and keep going to Chapman. And PT school was tough, but it was epic. And yeah, so that's kind of the whole school work thing. As far as like overall what drove me to even wanting to be in PT was I had a close family member who had this kind of terrible illness, and I had the pleasure of like being able to be there for it and help them through that process as much as I could in my like stupid teenage and preteen brain. I was still a bit of a couple bad words, but like I was able to be there and learn from it, and something, despite how maybe dumb I was then, I was able to really always be super grateful for the people that took their time to like go to school and decided to dedicate their life to being there for someone that they don't even know. And how cool that was to me then, that, you know, they weren't just helping that individual, they decided to do something where they can help their families and, you know, impact community. And, you know, despite wanting to be a drummer and being inundated with metal music at the time, and that's all that I thought was super important, I still thought that was like one of the most, you know, valuable things a person could do would be to dedicate their kind of time and effort towards family, friends, and community. So once I kind of had that like opportunity to pick my direction and come out and do it, you know, I heads down went for PT without looking at any other options for, you know, all the way until I was done. So that's why PT is like really relevant to me. And, you know, having made it through all that and like gotten to actually working every day, I love my job. I couldn't be more stoked for what I chose to do. And I know that's something that I would have wanted to hear when I was going through it, because, you know, I'm sure many of you, if you're interested in PT, have heard a couple people say a few times, you know, how stressed about this and that, and, you know, those things are real, but in my opinion, they exist everywhere. And, you know, I feel that doing something that you enjoy every day is well worth other things. You know, I get to spend 50 hours or 40 hours a week, you know, being stoked and having fun with patients. And that speaks to the environment that I get to work in, as far as like outpatient ortho. So I get to have a lot of fun in that environment. That's something that I always wanted to work in too. And it was a field that I pretty much dug into and loved it every day. So one of kind of the cooler pieces of advice that I got when I was an aide, because I worked for 6 years, like I said, in a completely different field. Dude, I was a cable guy. I was disconnecting people's cable for a couple of years, and I was doing installs completely different. And so when I moved out here, knowing that in order to be a PT, I needed PT 8 hours, I applied for like 75 aide positions. And as you guys know, aide positions are zero experience, like nothing. Like you can just apply. I applied for 75 of those things with like management on my list, all these things that like should have been relevant, but because they're unrelated to the field, so many clinic directors didn't give me a chance. It was a trip, but I finally got a chance, and I finally got to work with the PT. And one of the best pieces of advice he gave me that absolutely shaped the PT that I became was, he was like, if you like this setting, outpatient orthopedic, or not, he's like, but you want to be a PT, the most important advice I could impart into you would be become a personal trainer, because you're getting so much knowledge and valuable experience face to face with people, and with giving direction and cueing for certain movements and gaining insight into how certain exercises feel. All of these things are so valuable in being able to connect with your patients. And so I did, you know, I became a personal trainer in my undergrad and went all the way through it. And I did it for a year at good old 24-hour fitness. And then I, you know, did another year for a physical therapy company where I got to like be part of the link between physical therapy and personal training. So like the program that I created there was like the patients would finish their PT and then they'd come meet with me if they were interested, of course. And, you know, I'd talk to them, we'd do the screen, I'd run them through the things that you guys are learning in your curriculum right now. So it's super relevant, run them through that. And then that would lead right into their personal training program. I would take them, or I'd give them, the program went so well, we ended up hiring more PT or more personal trainers. And, you know, so that was like a very flourishing thing, but it would have only been possible like because I spent time becoming a personal trainer and actually like caring about it, rather than just reading it as a book and being like, yeah, 3 sets of 6 for strength, cool, next. You know, it's like that set and rep range, all those different components, I use that every single day. In fact, I'd venture to say it's the most important part of the way that I treat patients is through the exercise. I tell every one of them, I'll hang out with you for like 15, 20 minutes. That's the company that I work for, the way that we have to do it. But I'm using that time to educate and prep them for the exercise that they're about to do, because that's the most valuable thing I feel like I can give them, is something that they can take home and keep doing. So that has been hands down the most like valuable piece of advice and like experience. And it's stuff that you get in your kines degree. Like you can be a personal trainer with your kines degree, I think, anyways, used to be. But so I think that was super relevant for me. And then yeah, so I think like another kind of note of that's just kind of my current perspective as a PT is my value is a more of a guide. I feel like I will do manual work on people, but it's manual work that I feel is setting up what they're about to do. So for example, in my opinion, the most important way you can get a new range of motion, deeper squat, overhead range, whatever, is spending time in it. If you're going to get a new position, you have to, yeah, sure, do a stretch, spend some time in it. So that's my mobilizations, soft tissue, whatever. And then, but I'm having them follow it up with something that they're immediately using, because if you're getting a new range of motion from a static, whatever stretch, you're not going to keep that range of motion unless you use it and then rinse and repeat. You do a static stretch because your hamstrings are tight. You stop stretching, your hamstring's going to get tight again, unless you follow it up with like an RDL or whatever. You got to load it. So I think that's kind of like my overall that I use on a daily basis. Of course, there's little things in there. What other advice could I give? As far as PT school, I think one of the most like the funniest, but also kind of annoying things about PT school is it depends. So it's like, as a student, you always want this concrete answer. They have a rotator cuff injury. I'm going to do A, B, and C, and equals better, and that's it. But like all through PT school, everything is it depends, which is annoying at first, but it's also annoying to like not consider that every patient's a little bit different, and you're gonna get it depends. It's never fluid, and that's one of the more fun parts of my job is straight up making up movements all the time. I make up movements and exercise and stuff. In fact, when I make up new ones, I name them after booze drinks because it's funny, and I think people are more likely to memorize stuff like that. They go home, they're going to do some mimosas, and that's an exercise. I have Bloody Marys, I have gin and tonics, because it's funny and it's interesting and people remember it. But yeah, so taking that kind of it depends and accepting it and thinking through possibilities that people could be going through, and just kind of going through PT school with an open perspective and understanding that it depends is real, rather than being like, my teacher sucks, he says it depends, I want an answer. It's like, there's never going to be an answer. It's figure it out, which is fun if you like that kind of stuff. So I think that's what I got for advice, like kind of day to day a little bit. Yeah. Any questions? And I could probably keep chatting about whatever other things you got.
I do have a couple of questions from students that they submitted, and it's a little bit more about you going into detail about a couple of things that you just talked about. Let's start with your experience through PT school. Maybe give us a little bit more detail about your experience. Did you enjoy it? You said it was awesome. And how did you become successful in PT school?
Okay, so yeah, PT school's a monster, as I'm sure any kind of grad program is. It was a lot. It was a lot all the time. I don't want to just say for myself. I feel like most of the students in my class treated it like a full-time job. We were in class for the 8 hours a day, and then you'd come home and study. My classmates, some of them were photographic memory, really, really good students, straight A's through everything, honors and stuff. And they could look at a paper and memorize it once, hear the thing, and be fine. I had other students that would just study the whole thing in one night, get a better grade than me that was studying for an extra 40 hours a week, just because everyone's a little different. So my experience in particular, I don't feel like I was the best student in that, like, I can't just like hear it once and then be cool. So I would go to school all day and then study and then eat dinner and then study and go to bed and just do it all again. So in that sense, in the trenches, PT school is gnarly because it's just what it is. But everyone's a little different, so not everyone needs to study like I do. I needed to write, memorize, test myself, and then again and again and again. So, but I'd say that first, couple semesters is figuring out the groove of studying that works best for you. It took me a while to realize that I don't study well in big groups. So it's either a small group or it's by myself, because big groups get distracted. And then personally, I get annoyed because people are off topic that's irrelevant. And that happens all the time. But everyone's different. I had classmates who would only study in big groups. So I think that was a really important part early on, is just kind of trying different study styles and figure out the ones that work best. But I could say that going into PT school was so cool, because I had been waiting, 10 years or whatever to actually be there. And I'd been working so hard for so long in community college, taking stupid music, whatever class, and all these classes that seem so useless and irrelevant for so long. And then you get to PT school and it's like, here's the relevance, like you've made it. So in that sense, I had a lot of fun with PT school, despite it being like really difficult all the time. So one of the other kind of parts about PT school that I thought was kind of important is like getting a groove of staying healthy, getting outside and like working out a little bit. It doesn't seem like much to say it or maybe to hear it, because I feel like I probably heard it when I was going into school, but wish I did more. Like, I didn't build my home gym until like maybe the second year, which I would have done it. I wish I would have done it in the beginning, because then maybe I would have worked out more and stressed less and, lost less freaking hair or whatever, like, so I'd say try as best you can to like dedicate a little bit of time, to yourself. I got really lost in the like studying constantly because I was worried that I couldn't memorize some of these details. Like, I'd hit my head too many times and I couldn't do it anymore. But that's different, and that's everybody. So you just figure out your way to study best, spend a little time on yourself. Other details about PT school, I think one of the things that I would say worked for me really well that I learned in other undergrad was like connecting with the teachers, actually taking time to get to know your instructor, your professor, because they're there to help. But if they sense that you don't care, you're just a couple letters on a paper, But if they know you because you came to class and you're like, no, I'm like really trying to understand this, and you take the time to learn the material, it helps like a lot. Like, not only hearing it from them, but also making a connection with the teacher who's actually cared to teach you. So I got to spend a lot of time with the professors, which was like very like invaluable for sure, or very valuable. Anatomy lab was definitely cool. It was really cool to spend a lot of time with the cadavers. Really, really helpful now. I use a lot of that kind of information for stuff that I do now. Like the way that I treat. I don't do a lot of soft tissue, for example, because I think it's next to useless for petting someone's skin. I feel like you pet someone's skin, you're not going to change anything. That's my opinion, though. I'm not saying whoever does it is wrong. They may be doing it for their own reasons. I just find my value with other things for now, because that might change. But so like going through the cadaver labs was epic, seeing like how intense people's tissues are underneath their skin and all that kind of stuff was really cool. Ortho classes is the environment I've been interested in forever, were my favorite, and I think I did probably the best in those. But you also go through a lot of classes that are tough and boring, but they do complete the picture, like your research classes and how to digest research and blah 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 blah. So I just kind of sometimes you got to put your head down and you just got to do it. Stats. There's another stats class. Let me tell you, it sucks too, but you just do it. So I don't know. Is that what you guys are kind of looking for? I mean, I loved it overall, and especially looking back, because unfortunately, I had my last semester was like the beginning of COVID, so we didn't get our last semester, and it was literally like, all right, you guys aren't coming to class tomorrow because we don't know what's going on, and then we were done with PT school. No graduation, no goodbye to classmates. It was just done. It was a trip. So looking back, like it was really fun to hang out with classmates and get to know all these different people that are from all over the country. And I've made a lot of like important connections in PT school as well that have continued to help me out beyond. So I think that's probably the other super awesome part about it. Should I just answer as they come up? I see a question.
Let's check the chat. That was awesome. Yeah, and I could not agree more with everything I just said. Grad school is tough. You are in the trenches and you gotta, one thing that I really, really resonate with you is making time for yourself to stay healthy, exercise, eat well, and not just bury yourself in books and not going out and having that work-life balance, work being school and being there like 24/7. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more about Chapman, the university. Would you have chosen the experience at Chapman over an in-state university where tuition would be cheaper?
So me going to Chapman was based on my location. Actually, I didn't apply to any other school other than Chapman. I applied to Chapman only, and because that was the only one I wanted. That was the only one I wanted to get into, and it was based on location, and their pass rate for the boards was pretty dang high, and checked all the boxes. I was like, I'm gonna be in debt anyways, whatever. And then signed up and went and got lucky and got in on the first go. So as far as the price, was it worth the price? I don't know. I don't know. I think it was. It totally was, because let's just say, like, from the students that I've had or had access to, what I had through Chapman that I was very happy about was a smaller class and constant access to professors. And I've heard that being two different hurdles for other students is their access to professors is like super limited, barely get emails, barely get contact. They're in for the lecture and then they bounce. And I had access to their room immediately. Like, I could finish class, talk to them, I could walk with them to their office and sit in their office and go over it. And if they didn't have time to do it, they would give me a huge window, and it was never an issue. So as far as that goes, definitely love Chapman. They always had, new technology, really good stuff as far as like neuro and pediatric stuff went, really relevant, like current tools that you also don't really get access to at clinics a lot of the time. So that was cool to be able to say, when someone's like, oh, I have a balance thing, oh, cool, I had access to this. I understand what you're talking about. And then have that be a part of the conversation. Other things, there's plenty of other like high-end materials that they had. If anybody goes there now, they're going to get a way better experience for their money, just because when I was there, the campus wasn't new, but it's newer. They hadn't built the gym yet. Apparently some bitchin' gym is going to go in there. There's also their food capacity sucked. They had like a sorry little coffee stand, and it's like, dude, I'm giving you guys so much money. What is this bag of chips? But now it's going to be probably super sick as far as what they told us it was going to be. So I'd say it's probably a lot better now. But yeah, I think Chapman was totally worth it. I would definitely do it again. if I had gone back and, you know, had open access to go to this school, that school, that school, I'd pick Chapman again for
Awesome.
sure.
And now talking a little bit more about your day-to-day like job uh, activities. Could you explain to us the difference between the outpatient and inpatient settings, and what do you feel that was the pros and cons for you being in where you're at right now?
Yeah. So inpatient is a facility where the patient's like staying there overnight. Um, Examples of those would be like the hospital. Someone just had heart surgery and they need to stay there to be monitored for X amount of time. And then the PT will go to their room, do X, Y, and Z. Really, I can only speak to my experience in the hospital. It was a clinical rotation. I saw that question. My first clinical rotation was at St. Mary's in Long Beach, which solidified my decision to choose outpatient ortho. It was gnarly. It was super gnarly, and I was on the post-operative and AMS, which is altered mental status floor. So people are having a hard time mentally. With a lot of times there, it was like drugs and homeless population that were had OD'd and stuff like that. It was an intense floor, let me tell you. But most of the PT treatment consisted of like you go to the room, you make sure they're with it. If they're with it enough, you're sitting to stand, you're doing bed mobility, you're walking, and you're doing stairs. If they can do stairs, they're pretty much done with PT. And then it's goodbye, go home with hopefully something you can get. And to me, that just seemed horrible, and I don't want to be a part of it. I didn't feel like that's where I could be the most beneficial to someone was, you know, coaxing them out of bed and making them do stairs when they just probably will never remember that moment ever anyways. Not saying that it's not relevant. I just don't think I would be as useful in that scenario as I am where I'm at. Um, but it's undoubtedly a challenging environment. That one was. I can't speak to other ones because that was my only experience in an inpatient facility. So outpatient patients walking in and leaving after the session. There's also outpatient PT within hospitals. They're just leaving their room, going to a thing, and then going back to their room. So outpatient PT, there's a whole wide, you know, breadth of the way that PTs treat in this environment. But generally, patient comes in, they get treated manually with whatever manual treatment is relevant to that PT and that person, and then they do their subsequent exercise. Everyone's a little different. Some PTs don't even do manual. They just come in, they talk to the patient for a couple minutes and send them to their stuff. And a lot of that is a lot of it is PT preference and how they feel like treating their patient, but it's also dictated quite a bit by the environment they work in and their employer. So my outpatient facility we have a clinic. It's a small clinic. It's an Epic clinic, probably the best clinic, but it's within an LA Fitness. So patient walks through the gym, they walk by the front desk through the gym, and they come see me. I put them on a table, work them, and then make them work out for, I don't know, 30 minutes to 3 hours, depending on who's there and why they're there. And it's cool because we get access to the gym. So I'm often sending people out into the gym to do this thing or that thing or squat rack or whatever piece of equipment is relevant for them. So that's the typical kind of outpatient ortho as far as the clinics that I've had the opportunity to work in. Is you see the PT for such amount of time. Sometimes it's an hour. The PT just stays with you. There's manual and there's exercise involved and some HEP, some home exercise program, and then they send you home. And then it's usually like a 4 week to 8 week process, depending, of course. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of the overall about it. There's other environments like primary neurologically involved patients. So that'd be like stroke or CVA or stuff like that, where there's a neurologically based pathology. There's pediatrics, which is just all little kids, typically also strongly neurologically involved patients. Those are tough environments. God bless those PTs. for sure. But there's a few more too, but those are ones on top of my head.
Thank you so much, Cam. I have a student in the chat asking a question. It's, how did you make yourself a unique applicant when applying to PT school? Did you connect your experiences from your previous professions, music, etc.?
Absolutely. So Chapman didn't really care about, there was no interview. I don't know what they do now, but then there was no interview. You were a number on a sheet of paper at that point. I did take time to get to know professors, the two heads of the kinesiology department at Chapman, and I got both of them to write me letters. So I think that was pretty powerful. And because, like I said, I had spent so much time in their offices, they did know my story and know who I was and knew my passion about the topic. And I think that ended up weighing into their letters for sure. Unique applicant. I think again, it kind of just tie back to the becoming a personal trainer and just diving into that and having a relevant work experience to PT, being able to talk to people and talk to patients. I think that was probably a pretty valuable piece on my application. And then for Chapman, like I said, it was strong numbers, so I came in swinging with some grades for sure. But I did have a B minus in a 4-unit or 5-unit chem class or something that hurt. And my GRE wasn't epic, but that's enough, I guess. But yeah, so I think above all, my connections to people probably helped the most in those letters of rec for sure. I will say this too. I like the application process to PT school, not through my eyes. I feel like my experience getting in was quite different, but through my friends and students and other employees and stuff, it's a crapshoot. It's like all you can do is go in with the best numbers you can manage, and take a swing at it. And I think a real important part, at least like for yourself emotionally, is that if you don't get in, it's not because you suck. It's because a whole bunch of reasons that maybe aren't even that clear to you. Like in my opinion, well, okay, so my other classmates that I had at Chapman had way worse grades than I did. Like I thought I was barely making it in. I never got a C through my entire college, and I was so proud of it. And I'd be in class and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I had to take that class again." I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, I got an F. I failed it. I couldn't pass." I was like, "Are you? How'd you get in? Like, what the hell?" They had C's. There's some with B's. Like, do not finish. It's like it blew my mind. So I kind of gained this. Well, I created this narrative thinking, and then later I kind of learned some detail from some of the professors. But sometimes schools just look for demographics. Certain class shapes and sizes that meet or fulfill whatever kind of population they want for their experiment, which is, does this type of student pass my boards test or pass the boards test and therefore make my boards test numbers look good? This is a narrative that I feel I created out of my experiences. But I think my point is, don't get distraught if you don't make the cut the first time, the second time, the third time. If it's what you want to do, just stay with it, because my opinion, worth it. So, and I've had a lot of friends and stuff get like super distressed about not making that first round, which, yeah, it sucks, but dude, go be a personal trainer, take the stuff you learned in Sophia's class and go rock it out for a year. Gain some absolutely valuable experience that will absolutely work for your patients. Just because you're not sitting in a classroom learning about anatomy yet doesn't mean you're wasting your time. Go be a freaking personal trainer. Go work with people, like learn how to talk to people, I mean, I keep saying personal trainer as my bias, but also because the class that I'm talking to, you know, if you can handle it, go do it for a little while. Take a couple personal clients, go work in a box gym, go do something that's going to help you communicate with your future patient. And it will be valuable when you get into PT school, 100%.
I could have not said it better. And I don't think I could have ended this conversation better either. I don't have any more questions for you that the students submitted on
I
my
saw one come
question.
up.
So
I saw one question come up. It was like, what are clinical rotations did I do?
yeah,
One was that inpatient hospital one, and then the other two were outpatient orthopedic clinics, just hammering home what I wanted to do. I got hired at my third clinic, and I worked there for a year, and it was awesome. So those were my three. I also did like a 2-day out in Marietta, which was interesting, and then outpatient ortho, and then Chapman always works really closely because of their faculty with the like a neurologically involved population that actually come into Chapman's campus to be treated by students treated. So you're learning how to eval, how to take people through exercise, and the whole process of PT with like neurologically involved, complicated, difficult patients can make everything when you get out of school like way easier. I don't know that other schools have that. That was another thing I loved about Chapman is they always made that part of your curriculum. So while it wasn't a clinical, you're working with these people for like 6 to 8 week strips, and you get to know the patients, and then you go to the next one and you get to know them with like really complicated things. And again, you're taking them through exercise. And that was another class where it was like you could tell when people never taught someone how to squat, never taught someone how to put their arms over their head, dude. It was nuts. And so then the people that have actually been personal trainers or spent their time doing things were like getting A's and like doing good and getting to do more fun things. Like I was taking people through basketball stuff. It was like completely out of the room. Other people are like moving marbles because they didn't know how to help this person move that was relevant to them. They were just picking the movement that my teacher showed me. I was like, no, we're going to leave the room. See you guys. And then we went out and did fun things, and I had a killer time with it. So that was another really good part about Chapman, and also kind of the clinical rotation that happened. What was this? Did I feel prepared when I started? Absolutely, I did. Especially with Chapman. Chapman's like a neuro-heavy school, so everyone has a nervous system. You know, it's not just for the neurological settings. So that's helped me a ton because people will be like, I got tight hamstrings. It's like, no, you got nerve tension. You don't even like. So picking out these things was super helpful from Chapman. Yeah. Did you not move? Did you not? No, I didn't. I got super lucky. Again, my first rotation, Long Beach, drove in every day. Second rotation was Corey and Bueller, 8 minutes from where I lived. Third rotation was Mariners in Newport. So everyone was super close, and it was just like I did kind of the way Chapman does their clinicals was you score them, and so a lot of it was like luck. Oh yeah, dude, Mariners. Tell Mark what's up. A lot of it was luck that I got those. I did intentionally put the one rotation that I didn't want first because it was the shortest rotation. I knew I didn't want to work in inpatient, and I knew the expectations would be the lowest for my first rotation. And why else did I pick it? Because we had to at Chapman, we had to do an inpatient and we had to do an outpatient. So I put my inpatient number one choice. They're like, oh, no one's choosing this. Cam can have it. And I got it. And it sucked, but I was so glad it was done. All right. I think I hit the questions. I don't want to take you guys over your time. Let's see, everybody. Clinical, prepared, yes, didn't move, and work at Mariners. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, the last call, guys. Ask your questions. There are no more questions.
How many PEDS connections they have? I think everyone that worked peds got a peds rotation. Everyone that wanted it, like that had that desire, I'm pretty sure everyone got it. There was one in San Diego, I think 2 people fought for, but they both ended up getting it eventually. Yeah. You're welcome. Cool. This was epic. Thanks for letting me talk to everybody.
Yes, thank you so much. If anyone wants to reach out to you and ask you questions or get just contact with you, can I share your email and any
Yeah,
other?
the email that would probably be easiest, just because I'm trying to keep everything in certain spots, would be C and my last name, C Tropple, at, and then it's PR. Should I just like type it or something?
Yes, if you can, that'd be awesome. If you can type
Put it
it
in
in
the chat. I got it in
chat,
the chat.
and I can post that as well.
But like I said, my shop's small but mighty. I love taking time to kind of talk to people about things, and especially if you're passionate about exercise and any kind of lifting stuff, you know, that's kind of my passion within PT. I think that's a good email to go to. Anybody that ever wants to just come by and chat about it, or like I have people, students from Vanguard as like my volunteers often. So always welcome if you want to just kind of like be present in the environment and see how we do things. Volunteers always welcome. You can come by. I don't make my volunteers just clean stuff. If anybody comes by and they want to see stuff and they want to learn stuff, then you're taking the time to be there. So that's what I'll try to do my best to keep you doing. I have aides that I pay to do those kind of things. So always welcome to come by. Shoot me an email and set it up.
Awesome.
Right on.
Thank you so much. You rock. Really appreciate your time, taking your time out of your day to talk to all of us. And yeah.
Right on. Thank you guys. It was good to talk to you. Good luck, everybody, especially if you're going to PT school. You're going to do it. You're going to rock it out. Send it. Don't look back.
Don't just go all in.
Yeah.
All of you have a good rest of the semester. Good luck with finals. I know a lot of you are graduating this semester, so you all crushed it. Stay strong. You're almost there. Thank you, guys.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Later, Sophia.